Battle for supremacy amongst masters of podcast. NEA podcast.
Welcome, ladies.
Hey guys, what's up?
Welcome, L's and G's. I messed up my intro as well. Ned, that song is so much better than the song we get at the end of this podcast episode with Peppermint Butler singing. Dude, take the mic away from him.
I had the same notes. If you guys can't tell, today we're going to talk about Wizard Battle. Man, might be the best episode of season 3 so far.
It's a no nonsense, only wizbiz kind of episode, if you have to ask me. I'm Russell. I'm one of your co-hosts, and with me as always is Ned, talking Adventure Time, talking Wizard Battle. It is definitely going to be one of my favorite episodes this season.
Yeah, we get so
doubt.
much in this episode. It's a lot to process in 11 minutes, that's for sure.
It is. It is so much going on. I don't know if either one of us have a lot of deep thoughts for this one, but I think we just have good, fun conversation thoughts about this episode because it's so enjoyable. I watched it a handful of times and I didn't regret a single one of them. It didn't feel like I was preparing for an episode. It felt like I was just enjoying a show that we're watching every week.
Yeah, it really kind of goes into like when you get through the show and then you have your episodes where you're like, yeah, I'm binging through it again. Okay, we have this episode. Okay, we have this. This is one that like kind of like sparks the interest every time because you kind of do pick up one new little thing every time you watch it. I don't know if you did for sure, you know?
I don't know. This is one, actually, I recognize this episode. I think early on in Adventure Time, I had mentioned there was a wizard and arena battle type thing happening that I recalled from when I was first getting into, well, not first getting into Adventure Time. I don't know why I was about to say that. When I was watching Adventure Time over like my sister's shoulder in like high school sort of a thing, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely recognize this episode. I thought for sure we had seen all the episodes that I knew. But this is just another one that, for some reason, just was in the back of my head. I was like, I know this, and maybe that's why it feels so good to me. It feels a little nostalgic as an episode that is familiar and just something that I enjoyed even back then.
Yeah, I mean, almost that concept almost makes me want to go back through with you and do like a season 1 review. Maybe after the end of season 3, we go back and re-review season 1. Now that you kind of are more like Adventure Time. I think if we
ever do a Patreon, I think it will 100% be on there. Like the first 3 or 4 episodes, or maybe we just watch through our favorite episodes and we'll talk about those on some sort of like an external source sort of a thing. I think that would be super fun.
It won't be edited. It won't be like run through DJ Cowboy Hat's like filters.
If we start making some real money, then we'll hire DJ Cowboy Hat to do the Patreon stuff. But until then, we don't have it now. Don't go looking for it. It's not out there yet. Let's just talk about Wizard Battle. Let's get into this. Ned, we open up on an arena covered in plants. You can tell this is post some sort of the apocalypse. Several hundred years. What is it, 1,000 years?
It should be give or take 1,000.
But the plants that have taken over this arena aren't quite that heavy, I would imagine, for 1,000 years. And possibly that is because you have the Grand Master Wizard of Ceremonies clearing it out and having this wizard battle once a year taking place.
It's cleaned up enough and taking one of, I guess, the stadiums in U taken care of enough to where it still serves a functional purpose, per se.
It does. But how functional? It doesn't seem like there's a big crowd there. No one's really there for the wizard battle except for like 10 or 12 people.
Well, it's also like, I would assume that this is somewhere in the grasslands, like just not in a kingdom or anything like that. There is a wizard kingdom. Spoiler drop. And so that, the wizards don't live in the arena. It's not anything that's in like Wizard City or anything like that. So I would assume that in the grasslands, there's not a lot of like people and sentient beings that show up. And it's about the sanctity of it. It's not about a huge competition. There is a sanctity behind the wizard battle too.
Yeah, so, but it doesn't seem like everybody gets the sanctity aspect of the wizard battle, despite maybe acknowledging it or saying that they do or saying that they love wizard battle or showing up 6 hours early to go to wizard battle. It seems like some people spit in the face of wizard battle, and I'm not about that.
Who specifically are you talking about?
I might have a surprise most punchable character for everybody this week.
Okay.
It's Finn.
Finn's most punchable.
Finn's my most punchable character. And really for the reason of the sanctity and honor of wizard battle, Ned.
Yeah, well,
he's not a wizard. What's he doing?
Him and Jake talked about it, early on in the episode. Or Jake, when he said, I'm entering the battle, and he's like, what about the sanctity and honor? And he's like, rather sanctify PB's lips.
It's like he's never gone the wizard battle, though, before. It seems like he's new to it. The whole experience of the dome being cast over or the barrier being cast over the arena seems to kind of shock him. The rules, the rewards. I mean, Princess Bubblegum's getting kissed on the lips. Maybe that's not the reward every year. But he also doesn't know basic strats. He doesn't know about the outside or the opposites battling first. There's a lot going on that you would think someone who shows up 6 hours early for an event would be down for, and he just doesn't know what's happening.
Well, there's a good chance, and maybe it's a theoretically speaking of mine, that Ice King's immortal because of his wizard powers, which is given to him through the crown. That wizards are immortal in their essence. And so maybe wizard battle does not happen every year. Maybe it is the sanctity behind it is it's every 100 years. So there's a good chance that Finn has heard stories, read lore, anything like that about wizard battle. And it's once every 100 years or something like that. So I'd say that's probably a little bit more why it's, quote unquote, the sanctity of wizard battle. Finn doesn't know anything, and possibly why there's not a lot of people attending,
I mean, we could talk about the people that did show up. It doesn't really make any sense. I don't know why LSP is there. I don't know why Stargy's there, why Peppermint Butler is there. I would imagine a bigger crowd. And when the barrier gets cast over the arena, they probably should have been freaking out a little bit, if you have to ask me.
I'd say, LSP is there because she's got nothing else going on. We just talked about that. She's just chilling in the woods, man.
Dude, I think LSP's on a date.
Oh, good thought.
Yeah, I think LSP's dating the balding shirtless man who I looked up is Phil from season 1, episode 13, City of Thieves.
Yeah, we've had the Phil face multiple times, but they put it in the actual sentient being of Phil.
And he shows up in 2 other episodes, or he showed up in a second episode somewhere in the past for a moment. Yeah. But I just want to real fast, hold on, Ned. I got to call Melissa and tell her that LSP's on a date with Phil.
I love that theory. I love that she's on a date with the Phil.
I don't know. They sit next to each other. They don't have to do that.
Though. That's great. But if she, when you see who she's gets attracted to / taken on a date, Phil, the human Phil in Adventure Time or whatever he is, he kind of looks
humanoid,
lumpy, right? He looks lumpy.
He does look a little lumpy.
he might have the sexy lumps that LSP is looking for.
The shirtless was a bold move for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a sexy character for this episode?
I do have a sexy character. It's not going to make sense for you. It
might be my sexy character as well then.
Is it Huntress Wizard?
I want to have you, baby.
It is. I had to look up her name.
Yes. Huntress Wizard, dude. Oh my God. The voice actress for Huntress Wizard. Awesome. First of all, when we get to Huntress Wizard, totally, in my opinion, and for my fans out there, should have been the one that Finn dated. They are technically soulmates, and it's amazing. I just love that this is.
What do you mean?
Oh, I can't spoil. I can't spoil too much, but for the fans out there, the Huntress Wizard episode, it's much later on. It was really not brought in until way later.
She looks so cool.
Great episode. Yeah, I'm excited. And she's the bomb. She's I don't know how she didn't win Wizard Battle unless she went up against a fire wizard.
She has arrows in her quiver, which doesn't really make sense to me.
No, it will. It will.
Well, maybe she went up against the fire wizard. No, because she was a part of the wizard battle still, because Ice King went up against the fire wizard
So maybe she went up against the fishing wizard.
The fishing wizard.
Hunting and fishing. You know, I don't know.
The wood cutting wizard.
The lumberjack wizard.
The lumberjack wizard.
We could have so many different wizard types. What that does lead me to a little bit of the research that we did.
There we go.
Around the Grandmaster Wizard saying it's the 8 schools of magic. And
no science.
Yeah.
Science.
No science, no weapons. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. He said science wizard, right?
Wizard, yeah.
Okay, like she's so wise.
Funny. She's got a beaker with purple liquid in it and a telescope.
And a microscope.
A microscope, yes. And she was almost my lovely. It was so funny.
And then, what was it? Weapon Head, who just takes off his head full of weapons. But there is 8 schools of magic, and there are examples of each wizard. So I thought that was cool that they are pulling reference from Adventure Time. It is arcane, cantraps, rock, dimensional, tree/forest, death, ice and wizard, ice and water, same thing, and fire. And then there was 2 other possibilities, and it was brain and shaman. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like arcane is Bufo, the witch, Ash. Cantraps is like Abracadaniel, Lady Rainicorn, Magic Man.
Cantrips?
Cantrips, yeah. It's spelled
why
cantraps.
Is that a school of magic? Cantrips are low-level magic. If you're talking D&D terms, that is something that I think every character, but I know wizards for sure, when you're level 1 through 3 in D&D, you get up to 3 different kinds of cantrips that you can cast. And it kind of led me into, sorry, this is an aside. Do you mind if I go down this rabbit hole?
We don't have to
fast?
go through each one either, no.
I do want to go through them, but I just thought it was interesting that you mentioned cantrips because, so he, and by he I mean, of course, Abracadaniel, my lovely.
Give me some sugar, baby.
My lovely too. There's nobody else.
There's no one else.
You know, it's Abracadaniel by a landslide.
Ned, what's he look like to you? What's he look like? Come on.
Upside down mushroom man, maybe?
Upside down
the
mushroom
nicest
man
way to put it.
With loins. He looks a little bit like a dick.
Dick with loins.
He just wanted money, but he gains confidence as a wizard. He's just casting cantrips. I was like, man, I hope he levels up. I think he's holding back. I mean, I don't really have it theoretically speaking, but I was like, what if he was the most powerful wizard? Like, what if he was holding back and like faking his way through this whole thing? And really, he's this Tom Bombadil-esque wizard that we just don't know about how powerful he is.
Well, there's a good comparison between other wizards that have cantrips. It's, transforming small objects, changing colors, transforming people, creating miniatures, and then phasing through solid matter. And one of the most like undefeatable wizards that Finn and Jake face at all is Magic Man. And so like it's got like maybe Abracadaniel has the potential to be as powerful as Magic Man.
He reminded me of Magic Man. I kind of felt like maybe he was stronger than Magic Man. I mean, you have the whole scene where he goes, "My body's squishy. That's how I survived." He gets destroyed.
He is almost indestructible. Yeah.
It's kind of amazing. And also, why do the meteor shower go through the barrier anyways? Maybe it's
that was kind of an error in this episode. Is also the Grandmaster Wizard was distracted with his cat the whole time, so probably whatever magic casts for the barrier was just gone at that point.
Well, I was trying to have some sort of a backup for my theory about like the cantrips and Abracadaniel, I had to remember his name, being a very powerful wizard, but he only casts 2 different types of cantrips, and then he casts 2 spells. Cantrips don't take up any spell casts or any spell slots. Sorry, I haven't played D&D in like 2 years. Doesn't take up any spell slots, so I can't necessarily confirm that he's higher than level 3. I was really hoping I could get something where I'm like, holy crap, that's 4 or 5 different cantrips. That means he's at least level 10 or some crap like that out of 20. I believe is the max in D&D.
Yeah, maybe if we do a D&D campaign where it's all Adventure Time characters, we have to assign Abracadaniel to somebody.
That would be super fun. I mean, I think cantrips are super underrated. I think you could really do a lot with cantrips. It'd be a great way to deceive somebody.
We see Abracadaniel do a lot with the cantrips, and it was all used. It's all about like the kind of the strategy in which you do it. Like, yeah, you can't blast a rainbow at a rock monster to kill him, but you can sure do it to distract him and have, Man,
I would give him inspiration points for turning that one tornado monster pink because it threw him off his game entirely.
Yeah, that's what he constantly does. And if we really get deep into it, he throws Finn off his game. He almost like kind of is distracting Finn just enough to where he's like, yeah, I don't want to kiss her. I don't really want to win.
Well, he didn't. I don't think he really wanted to. It was just at the end.
But a man deserves a kiss from a princess.
I feel real good.
Real good.
He is so good. He was such a great aspect of this episode. I was so happy to have a character like whenever they introduce new characters and they just immediately are loved by the viewer. And Adventure Time does that really well. I feel like we've had a number of them in season 2 alone where I've been, oh my gosh, this guy's great immediately,
Yeah. It makes you really, really like him early on and really excited again he's a canon character now. So we do get many other. Yeah. He for sure comes back. Not frequently, but we definitely have Abracadaniel come back.
I love that.
I know. It's too good of a character, too well developed in them. Despite the LGBTQ plusness of PB and Marceline's relationship, I think they kind of maybe verge a little bit on this kind of being at least an asexual character,
Well, it's very vague. I don't even know, like it's kind of undefined in any way. Well, I don't know. He does have the thing at the end where he's like, I deserve a kiss from a princess.
Yeah, well, that's like, I'd say, and we can get to my tops of this episode, is turn and push. Turn and push. Turn and push.
So great.
It was so John Mulaney-esque too. I loved it.
I would be really interested to know if the writers had that in mind when they developed him as a character, if he was asexual or something in that way. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, well, just like the rainbow powers. He's got like a rainbow sweatband, kind of wearing more feminine-esque clothes. Like,
despite looking like a phallus.
That's right. I'm looking like a dick with legs.
Yeah, I totally agree. No, Abracadaniel, all the love. He's 100% my lovely for this episode.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And he deserves a kiss from a princess.
He knows about the rules, though. He knew about the opposites. Like, he gave Finn what I just imagined Finn would know from the get-go. I was so surprised that Finn wasn't aware of, this is how, like, everybody normally hides out from the gun.
Well, did you notice that, like, the very end of the episode when Finn trips and undisguises himself as a wizard, that it was Rock Wizard in the ground hiding, and that technically the Grand Master Wizard at the very beginning mentioned, like, it's a fight to the battle to the death. It's battle royale, and nobody died. Like, not a single. And I literally think it was just like all the wizards were just faking their own deaths because they just didn't care.
And Ben even just gives up at the end.
Yeah,
he just gets turned into a cat, which wasn't even. It was just a spell. It's not like he used willpower to stop being a cat. It was pretty easy for him to do that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you saw the other wizards get turned into cats, and I would assume that their own magic, they can go reverse those spells.
Though the Grand Master, what's his name, Wizard of Ceremonies, he did have a couple cats that he was playing with the whole time. He had one cat that was with him from the get-go when he's first introduced. I don't know, maybe some wizards are powerful enough to not be cats, such as Finn. I think just completely out of willpower, he was able to break out of the spell.
So, I was going to ask you, think that, like, does that suggest that Finn
every
is
cat's
on
a wizard for sure,
a magic spectrum of some sort? That
you tell
he could
me,
break
I don't
a spell?
know.
I know that's. I mean, it could be theoretically speaking again that.
Well, he has some magic because we saw him in the Frozen Blades episode using ninja magic.
That is true. He does know the what was it? Not ninjutsu. It was ice. Oh, I can't even remember. Frozen jitsu, whatever it is. And he has experience with magic. I don't think it's necessarily spellcasting.
And of course, Wizard, the Wizard episode. He has
Wizard. Yeah, and
we
magic. Did in my reference, and hopefully we're not just burning. It was again such a great episode. We're just burning through everything that I thought about here. Is that there's a ton of wizards that do show up to Wizard Battle in very, very similar looking cloaks that they had when they were given cloaks with Bufo.
Oh, there were two at the beginning. Bufo's in the episode, dude.
Wait, no, I missed. Oh no, he is in the. You're right, or at least another frog person. Yeah,
it's credited as Bufo. I checked it out on the fandom.
Good reference there. Then
season 1, episode 11, Wizard, gotta be one of the best episodes I've seen of Adventure Time. Easily top 5 for me. Wizard Battle. Maybe I just like wizards. Maybe I'm really into wizards and Adventure Time.
You didn't love Freak City and Magic Man.
Magic Man there's something special about him. I want to see him come back.
There is something special about Magic Man. And we won't get into it today, but
Freak City just kind of sucked. That was just not that great.
It was definitely one of those, like, you could tell Adventure Time didn't quite have its full, like, characteristic, its full personality about it at the time they came out with that one.
Yeah. Well, let's continue on our no nonsense, only wizbiz after a commercial.
If you or a loved one has been turned into a cat by a Grandmaster Wizard, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Magic Cat Condition is a rare condition linked to supposedly evil Grand Wizard Magic Madness exposure. Exposure to this kind of dark magic in Wizard Battle, by Magic Man, or by spontaneous magic cat puddles in the magic forest, may put you at risk for lifelong hairballs or even death. So please, don't wait. Call 1-800-99-MEOW-ME today for a free legal consultation and financial information packet. That's 1-800-99-MEOW-ME.
Welcome back, L's and G's. No nonsense, only wizbiz. What's up, Ned?
What's up?
Man, I got a Jake mistake. No, you got nonsense?
No, I always have nonsense. Just a little bit.
No nonsense. Come on. I got a Jake mistake to start off the second half of the podcast.
Making bacon pancakes.
I just got to say, at the very beginning of the episode, we see them in the arena, and he's looking for a hot dog, or I think he was going to take a nap until he gets a hot dog or some crap like that. Never eat a mystery hot dog. Never eat a mystery hot dog. Hot dog meat, it's enough of a mystery. You don't need to eat a hot dog that just appeared beneath you. It's ridiculous.
Well, you are at Wizard Battle 1. There's magic everywhere. But I was going to say all hot dogs are technically mystery hot dogs.
They are. You think the concession stand are all wizards?
I don't know. Absolutely. If there is a concession stand, there's definitely a concession stand wizard. Like,
they're just like wizards that didn't end up with cool powers.
They could just, we watched in the Wizard episode that Finn could make mayonnaise or Jake could make mayonnaise in a cup. So, like, why couldn't there be like a hot dog power?
Gosh, that was such a good power.
I would have just chosen
one of the best.
Unlimited ice cream or something. I don't know.
No, mayonnaise is sweet. I like that. It just felt appropriate.
It did feel appropriate. But, so one thing we haven't gotten into, and I guess an important part of this episode, but is Ice King and his Ice Kingness in this episode.
Yeah, because you mentioned, we just had an episode with Ice King, right? I don't mind Ice King in this episode. I kind of enjoyed his inclusion. I think you got to have him if you're going to have a wizard battle. He is our wizard. It makes sense that he's a part of this. The only complaint I have is that he has magic and he refuses to use his magic. He's just all about weapons, his nunchucks. It makes sense because of the Chamber of Frozen Blades.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
But nunchucks I don't think they're a ninja thing. Isn't that just a karate thing? Maybe it's a ninja thing.
I think it's potentially a ninja thing. I've never really I've never seen like a ninja.
Well, you're just thinking
nunchucks,
but what is it? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because one of them has nunchucks, but I don't think that's legit.
Regardless, though, I mean, would it have broken the rules if he had made nunchucks out of ice and then fought with them? Because I think that would have fit within the bounds of Wizard Battle.
The Grand Wizard, or the Grand Master Wizard, was looking when he was fighting with his sword and his shield that he did make out of ice.
Oh, and he said no weapons.
And he said no weapons. Yeah. So that seemed to be allowed. Or I'm pretty sure he was looking at that moment. But true. Ice King's fine. I just thought it was so funny that he refused to use magic. And then also he got knocked out with his own weapon that had been turned into a butterfly. It kind of seemed a little silly. He's better than that.
Well, we did talk about him becoming a little less, Ice King-y the more he hangs out with Finn and Jake. And so like maybe he's just like a little not as much in touch with his powers, or he just felt like he wanted to cheat to win.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I maybe, he did fight the fire wizard. So there's a good chance he's like, ice does pretty much lose to fire all the time. So
for sure,
there's a good chance he had the need, or he thought he had the need to cheat potentially.
Yeah, the nunchucks were the way he got around that because they weren't made out of ice. So he was able to defeat that guy. That kind of makes sense. I love that he's there. I mean, too, he's there because the reward is kissing PB on the mouth, and he is all about PB. And also, PB is all about getting kissed on the mouth in this episode.
Yeah, I just don't understand how she ended up in this situation where...
I don't either.
Usually I feel like she doesn't kind of patronize things like this, especially
I don't think she would be down for this.
No, it's very uncharacteristically PB, especially when we go to, I feel like, later seasons, and there's so much nonsense that happens in OO all the time that she's typically not about the nonsense. So I don't know if she's been around for all Wizard Battle. And she hates magic too. So like it just makes no sense why she would want to be there. And then,
it's almost like she's there against her will. Maybe she had some sort of a deal where I'll do, like, I don't know, like a quid pro quo. That sucks. I don't like that. I hate that they started down that route.
But also there's also not only just women wizards, but other people that are just like, we don't really want to kiss.
Yeah, the more feminine looking wizards all were not about it, and they immediately got turned into cats.
Well, even that first one wasn't even a feminine looking wizard. He's just, and he asked, is it an open mouth kiss? And he's like, no open mouth kissing. And he's like, I'm out of here.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But there was a lot of wizards. And again, I think this is why most of the wizards just went ahead and just hid, because if they forfeited, they would have been turned into cats. And if they won, there's no point in fighting if you're like, oh, like this is not really what I wanted it to be about today,
Totally. Yeah, I don't really relate this episode to still the last episode much at all. It doesn't feel like, I'm sure, they're canonically in that order, but it doesn't feel like still just happened. Still kind of has one of those endings where it's like, oh, I guess they're frozen forever sort of a thing. Whereas that doesn't really matter. Like it's the soft resets that every cartoon kind of does a little bit here and there.
Yeah, and it's no Family Guy soft reset. So
yeah, it's not like a hard reset. It's very like, okay, this was clearly done just kind of as a joke at the end of last episode. Let's pretend it didn't happen, or they got out of it somehow off screen. It's not important to the storyline. Let's move on. Sort of a vibe.
I can say, even though this episode feels a little like that, there's an important thing to notice here is this is the only / last time in the show that PB and Finn ever kissed on the lips.
It's the last time?
Yeah, last time.
Oh, man.
So,
well, they've kissed twice, I guess, ever.
Yeah, and maybe there's some more forehead kisses or something that happened, but like last ever kiss on the lips in the whole entire show. So
I want to know how you feel about that. I think that's more interesting than how we feel about Ice King in this episode, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm fine with it because we end this season with a little bit of it's not a wrap up, Like Finn always has these kind of weird background emotional feelings for Princess Bubblegum.
Okay.
But we wrap up this season with him taking the next step away from his first crush ever, which I think is a big growing moment.
Scene with them too at some point where she kind of tells him off.
Yeah, that comes a lot. Not a lot. I don't know when, but later down the road for sure.
I've seen like little clips on TikTok, and I always try and scroll past it, but I was curious about that. We don't have to get too deep into it. I'm also feeling a very similar way about that kiss at the end of this episode. At first, my initial reaction was like, my gosh, like it was almost going to be, what is the thing? Not Math, the segment that I created at the end of season 2. I was about to go, okay, this is Not Math. This is enough grounds for me to pull this back out and say Princess Bubblegum crossed the line. But I thought about it a little bit longer, and truthfully, I don't really know how I feel about that kiss. You know, she's like, oh, you did it all for me. It was kind of like a celebratory, you get it in Star Wars with Luke and Leia, where they have kind of like, oh my gosh, we did it, kind of a kiss. Unless I'm misremembering. I'm about to watch New Hope again. It's been a minute, but I'm pretty sure
how I felt about the Rise of Skywalker kiss too. Like it was just celebratory. It wasn't necessarily.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about. I thought you were talking about Finn and Rose or whatever her name was.
No, that was kind of weird too.
I can't stand that one. I have my reasons for that.
Nobody. That's the reason that we didn't go on that storyline in the last episode.
Well, there's no way she saves him. She goes. There's no way she saves him. He was going straight back. Like you see her ship.
Oh, and they're like 2 miles away.
And then she drags him, or he drags her. One of them drags the other person all the way back to the cave across, and like, there's no way they don't get shot or something. I hate it. Anyways, we got to move on. That was
we don't tangent.
This is no wizbiz only, Ned. Come on, wizbiz only.
Wizbiz only.
So, anyways, back to what I was saying though. About 3 episodes ago, we had the moment where he's like, oh, let's hug some more. And she goes, Finn, that was so 5 years ago and too young.
That's literally what I thought about in this episode. It's like she shut him down the first time, or, at the end of Too Young. And then she kind of gives him that like lead on thing again.
But again, this kiss feels a little different. It is 100% leading him on. And I will not discredit that at all, because I 100% agree.
Yeah,
it's a little annoying by PB. I'm happy for Finn. It sucks that he is being led on. But then the thought, I think that saved it for me a little bit, was just how happy I was for Finn that, hey, at least you got it. Like, I was thinking back to, like, you got the kiss of her at her normal age, right?
Yeah.
Not your 13-year-old Princess Bubblegum, but the Princess Bubblegum that you fell in love with or whatever. And I could think back to a couple older girls from my childhood that I would have died had they have kissed me in that way for whatever reason, whether we were playing house or whatever thing that you do as little kids, right? And this girl who's like 3 years older than me, if for some reason she had kissed me on the cheek even, I would have been like, oh my God, like I wouldn't have been in love with her for the rest of my life. But at that time, at that age, it would have been a huge victory. So I'm happy for Finn that he got that cool kiss that a lot of us kind of wish we had gotten when we were younger. I don't know. Yeah. That's kind of how I end up feeling about it.
It's a valid thought. And I thought about the leading on thing, and then I was like, well, PB is all about the sanctity of Wizard Battle, and that's why she slaps him at the end. So I think that like if she was honor bound to give that as the gift, no matter who the victor, was probably the agreement, even if it was Ice King, that she was honor bound by the sanctity of Wizard Battle to give a kiss. And that's probably why she does it, but she sure as heck leads up with a whole like, oh, you silly goose, and like where it was super flirty. And I was like, Joe, just leave the poor boy alone. He just like professed his love to you, kind of, or in a sense.
Man, I'm honor bound by the sanctity of Wizard Battle as well. So, I'm all about it. This is going to be something that I'm going to have to plan, like candle nights for MBMBAM for you Mabim fans out there, I might have to start planning a wizard battle once a year with some friends. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I'm going to look into it. Ned, you're coming.
A D&D campaign. You get wizard battle D&D campaign.
Great. There it is. That's what's happening. We're going to do a one-off D&D wizard battle campaign. Ooh, that's fun. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good one. I don't know how long you could make that one, but it could be a nice little expedited one. Yeah, it could
People
be a
come off for the weekend or come in for the weekend, and we just go, all right, wizard battle, tournament, spectacular, whatever we want to call it. It's going to be good. I don't know if we'll do it, but gosh, that's a cool idea.
That or you just do a bunch of PvP on Elden Ring with wizards only.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, this whole episode was my tops. I think it kind of goes without saying.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. No, my tops of this episode for me went to Turn and Push, but I had some, the backups were Sanctify PB's Lips. I love when Finn does that. Yeah. I love the Finn Scream was a runner-up.
Really? And then, the Finn Scream? Power Shriek.
Like the
Power Shriek.
The Power Shriek. That was pretty great.
I kind of felt that was another disgraceful moment for Finn. It's another reason why he's punchable, because that's not how you do wizard battle. That's, what do they call it? The most shameful form of all magic?
Yeah.
Or the most shameful of all magic?
I don't even think Finn knows that, but it puts it in my... Finn has some great shriek moments in the show. This is a good one.
It is a good one.
But then the last one, and I could not wrap this episode up without loving, like, I think I look crazy. See ya. Ice King's last line of the episode when he's wearing the sunglasses was, I think I look crazy. See ya. And it just goes to show you, when we were talking about Ice King earlier, like, although he was fighting people, like, he still sees himself as friends with Finn and Jake after who knows how long they were frozen together from the last episode.
How far are we out from a real moment where Finn and Ice King and Jake, as we mentioned in last episode, where Jake and Ice King like have their bonding moments as well, when they have like a real moment where they like truly bond, we finally see like legitimate improvement and growth in Ice King. And we've seen bits and pieces, and I know in certain episodes we like to like clamor on to certain moments where we're like, oh my God, look at him, he's doing things. But how far out are we from a real moment of growth?
We do see there is later in this season, it's called Holly Jolly Secrets, where it's kind of like a Christmas special episode. There's a good little, sympathy for Ice King. I think that it's episode 19 and 20 of this season. And some really important stuff happens in that episode with Ice King's past and with some Marceline in there as well. So
cool.
I think that's our first very, very big cross the threshold of.
But is that modern Ice King, or is that a past tense Ice King?
No, it's modern Ice King, where they introduce a little bit of like, okay, we're gonna be nice to this guy,
Yeah. All right.
So it's coming, and thankfully this season too.
What do you think of the locker scene? Just real fast, another final thought on this episode, where they're in the locker and Finn's like, "Oh, I know I hide my feelings." It's like, dude, you are terrible. Have you been hiding your feelings this whole time? You really think you're doing that?
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing of like, dude, you and Jake have talked about this at least like a bajillion times at this point. So, but I told this story already on the podcast, but the fact that, when he finally vocalizes his opinion and says like, or vocalizes his feelings and it's like, yes, I've got feelings for okay. And he's like, all mad. I did the same thing in middle school. Like when I professed my love to my first crush, it was just like, my words were, I like you. You should know that. Like, and then I stormed off, so it's something about that, when it's the first time you ever say that out loud and you're like, that's a hard threshold to get over as a, adolescent teen. So don't discredit him for that. But, I thought it's kind of that good moment of Finn coming to terms, saying it out loud. And honestly, unless you say it out loud, he probably would never get over her unless he, how when you say things out loud, they start to sound ridiculous,
Oh, they do.
And so
definitely
there's there's a small chance that that's a good moment of growth in that respect too. It's no longer the secret.
Depending on who you say it to, it may sound even more ridiculous because you're just like, I just told my dad I'm going to start a podcast. You're like, why? Why am I doing this?
Oh, man.
Ned, I got a lesson for this episode.
Yep.
Other than, don't eat hot dogs that are mystery hot dogs because they're mystery enough. Really, the lesson for this episode for me is take advantage of your cantrips.
Oh, good one. I like that. Of just take advantage of like the little cool, small, powerful things you have.
We all got cantrips. Take advantage of them.
Yeah, and that's way cooler. Mine's the same lesson. I said strength and power can come from anywhere, even magic rainbow people. Okay. But that's the exact same lesson as you just said it in a way cooler way.
Yeah. Well, everybody go out there, take advantage of your cantrips. My rec for this week is I'm reading Lord of the Rings. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before or not. I've never gone through it before. And I'm trying. It's taken me a while. I have not got the Tom Bombadil, so I didn't want to dive too deep into any comparisons with Tom Bombadil and Abracadaniel this episode, just because I wasn't sure truly how
that story arc plays out.
Yeah, and I didn't want to spoil anything for me because I'm really enjoying diving into the Tolkienverse, or however people call it. I don't know what people call it.
I ought to do that. I've been looking for a good book to read as a story recently.
Name of the Wind.
It's a good place to pick up there for sure.
You should read Name of the Wind.
No,
it's so good, dude.
I know. I'm not saying it's not good, but
it's so good.
Yeah, usually when you're at airports and sitting at home, you're like, I should read a business book about how to be successful in business.
Then I
was like, I need to just read for fun.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a copy of Name of the Wind. It's one of my favorites, but not my rec this week. What's your rec?
My rec, out of nowhere, out of left field this week, Miss Marvel on Disney Plus.
I'm surprised by that.
It's not amazing, but they took a really interesting directive stance with a Marvel show. Lighthearted, very, very real. Like if you got magic powers and you were a normal 14-year-old, what would happen? And it's so she has fights and stuff, but they're so realistic. She doesn't just turn into a superhero and she's as powerful as Captain Marvel. So it's very realistic. And I think I just went in with insanely low expectations. I thought it was going to be a Disney Channel version of Marvel. And they are doing a pretty good job. It's good acting. There's some hate out there about some cultural appropriation aspects because her family's from Pakistan and they're Muslim. And they didn't, Marvel has these evil demons in the Marvel universe called the Jinn. They're not all evil, but regardless, there's some, culture police out there that are like, it's cultural appropriation. You talked about, Islam. You don't know anything about Islam. I'm like, guys, it's comic books. It's all right. It's not cultural appropriation.
Yeah, I really can't talk on it. I haven't seen much Marvel stuff outside of the main movies.
Yeah, it's for how high my expectation has been for some of the Marvel shows, and then they just kind of sucked. And then for how low my expectation was for this one, I was like, oh, it's really enjoyable. And actually, do want to. We haven't finished the whole series yet, but I'm going to do another couple episodes tonight. And I was like, I'm actually excited for this. And it takes a lot for me to get excited about some Marvel stuff.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, before we lose people talking about Marvel on an Adventure Time podcast for too long, let's get into some Adventure Time talk. This is the end of the episode, but we're going to do the Traveler's Log segment, which is something that whenever we have the opportunity to do it, I am all about doing it. I love that people occasionally will write us and tell us their thoughts, their opinions, whatever. You can hit us up on nea.travelerslog@gmail.com. Ned, let me get into the first one. It's a little long, but I think it's worth talking about, and I think it could be a pretty cool little discussion. So this one comes from Kayla, who wrote us a really long, fantastic email. Well, two of them, really. And so this is real fast. I'll try and go through it quickly. I've got a bunch of ideas on how the humans evolved along with the Mushroom War. I agree with the sentiments that the humans allowed themselves to be exposed to nuclear radiation during the Mushroom War. This allowed them to evolve into humans with the double O.
The double
And now
O.
the nuclear zombies are completely deformed due to not being able to escape, not making it to the bunker, and being exposed constantly to the nuclear radiation. First seen in the first James episode, season 5, episode 42. But I also think that the humans, with a U, that took in some animals, and the nuclear radiation made the animals evolve as well. I think that would explain a lot about a lot of things, such as the creepy deer we see in this season, which I guess we haven't gotten to yet, or any of the tiny mammals.
That's a weird episode.
Is it? Okay. Probably going to freak me out, I'm sure.
It's going to freak you out. Any of the tiny
mammals, which we've seen in season 10, episode 6, or any of the characters we've seen, say, in season 8, episode 11, Daddy-Daughter Card Wars. But then again, I think that doesn't cover everything, every base, because Tiffany, when we first see him in My Two Favorite People, season 1, episode 9, he looks like a human child enough, But I assume he isn't, because Finn is the only human in Oo, or is he? I'm guessing that's covering some sort of a base for me. I mean, Susan's a human. Possibly.
Well,
as far as we know.
Technically don't know that yet. So,
all right, Ned. Well, are you going to spoil something for me?
No.
Okay. All right. Susan's a human, says Russell.
No, she's
never seen the show before. Get out of here. Yeah, he has a mustache, and he used to run with Jake and his crew back in the day when Jake was committing crimes. If he was a human, my question would be, how old is he? And at what point did he leave the bunker? Was he exposed to radiation? If he is a human, keep up the great work. And she wrote some other little personal stuff, but yeah, Kayla, great traveler's log moment here. Ned, what do you think of her thoughts on Tiffany?
I think that the thoughts on everything else are great. It's very similar to what we thought about with the, slight exposure in the bunkers, some exposure, some not exposure. With Tiffany, I don't believe it. I would have to, I'm not trying to shut it down, but if Tiffany was a human to a degree, you could assume that every being in Adventure Time is somewhat of a mutated thing, or magic thing. Humanoid or magic, because there's magic is brought into the universe. So, Donnie, the bully, the grass guy is obviously some sort of magic entity.
Phil from this episode, some sort of a human thing, but not a human necessarily.
Yeah, and then you've had thousands of years of magic plus evolution. That Tiffany being a direct exposed human. Also, like, humans still have normal lifespans. We see that in the Islands miniseries, that the humans, there's not like they still are immortal or anything. So I don't think that Tiffany was a human that was exposed. I think there is a chance, though, that like Tiffany's origins, if you like traced the lineage back 1,000 years, that Tiffany had an origin of
like human DNA
descent.
Or something.
Yeah. It's just in the same realm as the humans that were living underground.
Yeah. My thought, I'll go ahead and say it. Tiffany is blue and therefore not a human. And I've got 3 reasons for this belief. 1, I'm blue dubba-dee-dubba-die. I think this is self-explanatory. 2, Skeeter Valentine from Doug is blue. He was born in 1981. He's in 6th grade, best friends with Doug, a true friend to never tell Patty.
No, his last name. His last name's not Valentine.
I think it is Valentine. That's Doug's. Is it not?
That's Doug's last name.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
I looked it up, dude. It's Skeeter Valentine.
I thought it was Doug Valentine.
No. Anyways, number 4, honk honk. My third reason why Tiffany is blue and therefore not a human, he has too much hair, and to be a part of the Blue Man crew, whom are all humans, despite having a blue house and a blue window, he couldn't be a part of the Blue Man crew. So I don't think he's a human.
It's good. It's good thoughts right there.
Yeah,
all stemming from his it's Doug Funny. You're right.
Doug Funny.
I hate that.
Skeeter Valentine.
I thought I knew my old Nickelodeon.
You go back and listen and watch Doug. like Skeeter's voice bothers me a little bit. I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's not my favorite voice acting
because it's inhuman.
Tone.
It's inhuman, Russell. You just said
he's
it yourself.
Not a human. He's blue and therefore not a human. Blue, dabba-dee-dabba-die, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've got another, theoretically speaking, coming from our traveler's log. Should we get into it today?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
All right. One is from one of our mega fans, Crystal.
Is this one that I can listen to? I don't know if I can listen to this.
You can. I really don't think there's names that are mentioned here, but it doesn't necessarily drop any spoilers per se.
Yeah.
I read through it, and it really doesn't have anything that spoils anything.
Yeah. So who's this from?
If that makes sense. This is from Crystal. And again, she's super mega fan. We love her. She sends us content all the time. But she said, I was watching season 9, episode 13, Whispers. And she said the Lich describes himself as the last scholar of Golb. She said she's watched the series thousands of times and never noticed it. And her, theoretically speaking, is that the Lich is one of many beings created by Golb. But he may be one of the last ones left. I say that he falls in the same vein of most ancient monsters, like Hudson Abadir or the Orgalorg, and has been around since before darkness. And she thinks that Golb created them all, even the Lich. Considering that Golb is the embodiment of chaos, he would eventually create other branches of chaos like the Lich. She thinks the Orgalorg, Hudson Abadir, could have one time been scholars of Golb, but no longer are because of their current circumstances, being in the Nightosphere and where the Orgalorg is. I won't spoil one thing there, because, sorry, Crystal, you did say this was a spoilers for Russell, so I'm not going to read it all.
You can read it. I'm not listening, man. I'm zoning out. I'm using my mom. I'm watching TV right now. I can't talk. Hearing selection.
But her TLD, she did leave a TLDR after all this, and it was like the Lich is a creation / follower of Golb and probably belongs in a nearly extinct group of beings that were created / followed by the precedent of chaos that Golb represents. And I think that's a great theory. In sense that, obviously the Lich comes from the Mushroom Wars. Obviously, there was something around bombs in the Lich, and is the Lich an agent of chaos brought forth by Golb via a nuclear weapon? I think it's a good theory. Also because the Orgalorg is an agent of change and an agent of a time of change, which is exactly what the Lich was as well. So I think that's a very good theory, is that, even summing it up more than Crystal, that Golb could be the agent of chaos that brings forth the periods of change every 1,000 years and sends different, scholars of his to be the agent of that change. Sometimes. So good thoughts, Crystal. I love that.
Way over my head. Good stuff.
It's all good. That's what we are training you up to be in the next 5 years.
Oh, dude, I believe it. I 100%. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna stare at Ned, appreciate his mustache, look at his background.
Gotta have a sweet wedding mustache this summer.
Okay. I was like, I'm not gonna listen to this. There are some minor things going on. Anyways, y'all, thank you so much for checking us out, listening to us. Another great week. We both obviously love this episode. If you haven't watched it in a while, go back and check it out. It's 11 minutes and it is a bomb to check out.
It's a good time.
It's a good time. You can, in the meantime, though, follow us on Instagram at Never Ending Adventure Podcast, TikTok at Never Ending Adventure Cast, Twitter at NEA_podcast. Email us to be on the Traveler's Log at nea.travelerslog@gmail.com. Also, we are on YouTube. If you want to go there and subscribe just for the heck of subscribing, in case we someday, by some miracle, randomly get a visual element and you can see us in the person, in the flesh, as humans, not blue-skinned. No offense to anyone out there who's listening who might be an alien who has blue skin. If you're on this earth and, in the privacy of your own home, you reveal that you have blue skin. Terrifying. Please don't come after me. We love you because you are part of the journey we are on. Next week is going to be just another normal episode. It's going to be a good one. We're not going to get too deep into what we're going to talk about, but If you want to go and review us on Apple Podcasts or I believe iTunes, if that is still a thing, I'm not sure. You could review us there. I heard podcasts talking about, go review us on iTunes. I think it's the same thing, but sure. Go check that out. And we'll send you a sticker. Just let us know you did it. Until next week.
You get some stickers.
Yeah. Everybody, party forever.
Oh, I loved you guys.